Guys, Andrew here. Today's video is about single-legged exercises and are they needed for powerlifters and Olympic lifters? And also are they needed for general sport athletes like field sport and combat sport athletes? Well, I think they're not a necessity for powerlifters and Olympic lifters. The main reason being is just in terms of um, if you don't have time to do them in the program, they wouldn't be on the main bang for buck kind of priority list. The reason being is in competition, you obviously need a great deal of force in power and strength and power in powerlifting and Olympic lifting, and all the lifts are done in bilateral stance with 2 feet on the ground. And I'm not going the whole functional route that your exercise has to directly kind of be as functional as possible to mimic the sport. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, if you don't have a hell of a lot of time in your hands, the main priority for Olympic lifters and powerlifters would obviously be getting those lifts in a double stance where you produce a lot of force and you lift heavy objects, and also your power lift for Olympic lifting as well. All the Olympic lifting lifts variations like so deadlifts, and then you'll have your front squats and your deadlifts and your back squat. So they'd be the main priority. So if you're going to do single-legged exercises, they're very mentally taxing. So if you feel you can fit them in afterwards, and you're able to do them, and you have enough time to do them, definitely they're going to help these athletes as well. I'm not saying they're a complete no-no. They're definitely good exercise, like for glute activation, and glute minimus and medius activation to help knee stability. And also, I find they're great for glute maximus activation because you're simply having to produce force in one leg. But great exercise, but not a necessity for Olympic lifting and powerlifting. But for field sport athletes, like Gaelic footballers, hurling players, soccer players, basketball players, rugby and American football, judo, boxing, taekwondo, kickboxing, etc., MMA. I reckon that they should be part of your lower body program, purely because in terms of function and transfer over, you do have to be able to be stable and being able to produce force on one leg in these sports. For example, running or sprinting, which you do in field sports, or if you're a sprinter or if you're a runner, etc. You're gonna have to be able to produce force while you never have two legs on the ground when you're sprinting or running. So you're gonna have to be able to produce force when you're in a one-legged stance. So if you can increase your glute maximus activation, your strength from a one-legged stance by doing single-legged exercises, or even doing split squats lunges as well. Your pistol squats, single leg squat, single leg deadlifts and stuff. I mean, this is really going to help. It'll help with knee stability, making sure that it'll switch on your glute minimus and glute medius muscles at the side of the hip to make sure your knee maintains stable and prevents from buckling, and therefore you'll have less injury risk. Being able to stay stable at the trunk as well. You won't be rotating at the trunk as much or lateral or flexing to the side. So there we are. We're staying stable at the core, the knees. We're able to transfer force from one leg to the other. We need it for sprinting. We need it for kickboxing, etc. Being able to maintain stability and force, produce force from one-legged stance. Judo when you're doing foot sweeps or throws with only one leg in the air. Wrestling as well, and any sport where you need force and stability from a one-legged stance. Single-legged exercises are going to be very good for injury prevention and also for producing force in a one-legged stance. Like, it's all well and done being very, very strong from a two-legged stance, but you want to be able to be stable and strong from one-legged stance as well. And also, a lot of people who are very powerful and strong, they might not be too stable on the landing. So if you do single-legged exercise, should help your stability as well when landing, just helping the knees from being stable. No, sorry, help the knees being stable. Thanks for listening. get your single-legged exercises in if you're a general sport athlete. You know, as I said, the field sport athletes, combat sport athletes, get them in. Definitely going to be great for glute activation and help your performance.